And welcome to another episode of Experts Speak. I'm Michael DeLon, and today I'm talking with AJ Kumar. And well, AJ, first of all, thank you for being here and taking some time today to be with me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited you're here because it's going to be a really, really fun conversation because I love what you guys do, and you take a kind of a different approach to all things marketing online with content creation and brand management and helping people really take their message and cut through the clutter in a really fun way. So I can't wait to get to that. So as we dive into that deep end of the pool, tell me, how in the world did you get doing what you're doing today?
Gosh. So I've been in digital marketing for a bit over 15 years now. And I had a friend that a guy named Neil Patel, who I used to know back in high school. And he's like the SEO king. He's a digital marketing guru. He's been in the business for a while. And he taught me how to blog. He taught me how to get into taught me digital world skill sets is what they're referred to. I originally came from a background of working with salespeople and had these real world skills. So Neil in about 2009-ish got me into blogging and then introduced me to a guy named Sujin. We started a company called Single Grain. And at that time, we were working with corporate brands. And then I shifted from working with corporate brands to working with personal brands and helped an author become a New York Times bestselling author, drive a ton of traffic to her blog, build essentially what's now referred to as a personality driven media company.
Mm-hmm.
And then essentially from that, I had this infrastructure, this playbook that I created. And from that, I started this agency that I have now called the Limitless Company. And now I help people leverage social media to build their personality driven brand.
Awesome. I love that. Let's just dive there a little bit because I talk a lot with my clients and with the people that I'm around of the importance of having what I would call a crystal clear message, but that's a little bit different than having a personal brand, but the two really work together in a lot of ways. Unpack for us the dare I say the purpose of a personal brand. Why is it so important? And what can you do? Why is it so important to separate yourself with a personal brand? How does that really magnify? So talk about that aspect because I think a lot of business owners don't really grasp the importance of having their own personal brand tied to their message.
Yeah, so I think a personal brand is now more important than ever, especially because social media and the digital world augment how people see each other in the physical world.
Mhm.
It's kind of like that Black Mirror episode where I don't know if you've seen it or not, but you know, people judge you by the amount of followers you have, the amount of likes you have, et cetera, and so on and so forth. And it sounds terrible, but to some level, it does kind of make sense. It does add credibility to what it is that you're doing. Now, that's not to say that some people try to fake it or trick it, but that's often easily like understood when you're looking at somebody and you can be like, all right, this is not real, this is kind of fake or whatever. But today, if there's so many people online, everybody's chronically online, and when you see people online, that's how they know you, they understand you, or they decide if they trust you or not. So if you don't have a personal brand, it makes people a little skeptical or makes the people a little bit uncertain, right? Especially now in a time where there's so much opportunity, there's so many options. People want to work with people that they trust. And by having a personal brand, you could develop that trust in a way where it happens a lot faster than before. Whereas before, you'd have to be physically in the proximity of people, you'd have to shake hands, you have to meet, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas now, you could leverage social media, you could leverage blogging, and the speed at which a relationship can get developed is a lot faster. So like there's a time lapse that occurs.
Yeah. And I think that's really important when entrepreneurs think about this is the time lapse. How do we shorten the sales cycle to build trust faster, get people in our world so that they can connect with us, we can nurture them. I mean, they're all going to act at their own speed. Some people are ready today, some people will be ready a year from today. That's okay. But how do we get them to really trust with us, to build a tribe per se? I kind of hate that word, but everybody knows what I mean by that.
Yeah.
And to become that guru, that person that people look to and say, here's who I go to for X,
Yeah.
what X is, and then they share it with other people. How do you go about helping companies do this? Because I know you've got this arsenal behind you. Talk about some of the ways you work with business owners, experts, coaches, authors to help them do this.
Yeah, so I've been specifically focused on working with people, personal brands, right? Like I shifted from corporate brands. We helped originally it was like SEO. Then I shifted personal brands just because I gravitated towards working with people because that was my background. I kind of grew up in an environment where I had spiritual gurus, right? And then naturally it became me working with business gurus or gurus of an industry. And when it comes to working with these people, it's essentially helping them draw out their own creative genius. And
Mhm.
I essentially created a studio system that streamlines the content creation process because everyone needs to create content, but content creation is pretty hard and it really does become like this hamster wheel where you have to constantly be churning out content to where you get burned out and the message gets diluted and you just kind of get over it and then it just never happens. So that's specifically what the Limitless Company is. It's to eliminate that hamster wheel effect that occurs. Now, I'm primarily focused with people that are subject matter experts. They're people that are already someone that has developed some kind of expertise or skill set in what it is that they do. And I help them go from being a leader in their industry to being a leader for their industry. And it's essentially a similar playbook as to when I was building one of the first personal brand clients that I had, a woman named Kimberly Snyder. She was an author of a book called The Beauty Detox Solution. And she had a blog that got 30,000 visitors a month. So essentially repackaged her creative genius in a variety of different ways, different kinds of blogs, and that resulted in driving traffic to her blog. And then we captured emails and then had emails that helped build the relationship. And eventually that led to her becoming a New York Times bestselling author, her selling her physical products, her digital products. And that's essentially what happens is it's about creating these touch points with people. And kind of to what we were talking about, everyone goes on this customer journey when they're working with a brand or a personal brand, a company, whatever it is. And throughout that journey, there are these touch points that occur from the first touch point of when a person becomes aware of you to a touch point to when they're about to click a buy button and buy something from you. All of these areas, all of these touch points are something that could be optimized. And it's not just one channel. It's not just email. It's not just search SEO. It's not just social media. You have all of these channels, and you could take this omni-channel approach. And all of these channels become a touch point, and within all of these channels are micro touch points. So by thinking of it in that granular way, you could really optimize the speed and quality at which you're building a relationship with these people, so that you are essentially positioned in their minds as that expert that you want to be.
Dude, you just hit it right there. Positioned in their minds. So one of the books that influenced me greatly in marketing, Jack Trout and Al Reese wrote the book Positioning: The Battle for the Mind, right? And I read that 35 years ago. I don't know. I still have it. And I read it all the time because that's where the battle is fought. And I see business owners, they don't get that.
Yeah.
They don't understand category ladders or anything. And so when I see their posts or their marketing, they are always just parroting the same old thing that the next person does. And they don't have that differentiating effect that cuts through the clutter, many times a brand. And if I would say, Dave Ramsey or Oprah or Tony Robbins or you name it, they all have a distinct brand. We know instantly who they are, what they stand for, and do I fit with them or not? And that's how I look at great marketing, because it just it cuts through everything and it says, are you with me or are you not? And either way is fine. If I offend you the way I have, just go away.
Yeah.
So helping businesses get that, and you mentioned something in through your process, and I'm going to rephrase it, I think, is you're really discovering what's inside of that person, that brand you're creating. So it's not like AJ, it's not like you're creating something and saying, this is you, Michael, you now have to be this Superman or no. It's pulling it out and saying, this is who you are, what you stand for, what your audience really wants. Let's amplify that in all of the platforms all the time. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. Like we live in this time, like social media had this big shift where they went from this social graph where you're essentially seeing content from people that you know and people that they know to an interest graph where you're now starting to discover content about things that you're really interested in. And that's essentially a big core part of this playbook that an Oprah has, and Ellen has, and Martha Stewart. They have a core focus as their niche, and then they have other areas of interest, which I call complementary interests, right? And that's essentially what we did with when I was helping Kimberly with her brand. She was a plant-based nutritionist, and she also had other areas of interest in like spirituality and yoga, etc. So when you have these other niches, these other complementary niches, they essentially help you become this multifaceted person. They help you stand out from everybody else, especially in this online world where people are discovering based on different niches. Instead of just hitting one core niche, if you're hitting multiple niches, people in other niches discover you, and then they become more interested in your core niche.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And it goes back to the really simple guy who did it, I think, really brilliantly, Dave Ramsey. I mean, he's been talking budgeting for years, and he's got his 7 baby steps. And it's everywhere from your debt snowball to, retirement or whatever. But you can look at any of those steps and say, oh, I'm on step 2 or I'm on step 4. How do I get there? And he has a plan in place. But it allows me to self-identify with him and connect and go, okay, I like you. I like your plan. I can get involved. And oh, by the way, I'm going to tell somebody else because this is like crazy good, right?
Yeah.
And that's what happens to a personal brand when you're going tangential areas. I guess you got your core area, but then I saw Martha Stewart on a on a commercial for something. I'm like, why?
Cannabis now.
Yeah, cannabis now. Exactly. It's like,
Yeah.
what? So, but it's because people will follow her. She'll get new members, new
Mhm.
attendees, new audiences who will
Mhm.
then gravitate to her core thing
Mhm.
because of her brand and her consistency in that brand across everything, right? Is that
Yeah. There's something interesting I noticed as I was just going through this over the past decade or so, and observing different people and realizing there's different levels that people are on. So I came up with this concept called the influencer hierarchy,
mm-hmm,
where most people like the bottom level is the generalist, and you could kind of compare it to like a doctor. If you have a cold, then you're going to typically see a generalist doctor. But if you start having heart problems, then you need to go see a specialist, right? The
right?
second level is a specialist, and then the third level is an authority. So this is when a specialist starts to create something original and wants to start to break away. But the challenge with the authority, and you got to niche down when you become an authority to really find that core focus. But the challenge is most people don't know about the authorities, because the authority then needs to develop more skills. They need to develop on camera presence. They need to start telling people and promoting their original content. And that's where I think there's this counterintuitive approach where you become an authority by niching down and figuring out a core focus. But then to go to that next level, which I call a guru, that's when you need to start adding these complementary areas of interest, because that's what makes you stand out from this, this one dimensional, this flat screen that people are watching, and to actually like give people an experience, because that's how people are. People aren't just one thing. People are a multitude of different things. And then the guru becomes the fourth level. And then above that becomes the guru's guru. That's when you become the Oprah, the Ellen, the Martha Stewart, and so on and so forth, the Tony Robbins of your industry, right? And that's like, once you understand that those are the levels, then you can determine, hey, I want to become the guru, or I'm okay with just being a specialist, or hey, I want to go to the highest echelon, because people want to be that, because the people that are at that top level are most magnetic to opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're at that level, selling becomes really easy because you really don't do it. I mean, how
You
much
have
does
to.
Tony Robbins sell, right?
Yeah.
He communicates, people gravitate, they say, I want to be part of whatever, right? Because they know he has so much more to offer. And I talk to business owners all the time. They're like, well, I don't know how much I should share in my book. But I'm like, share everything, right? Get
Yeah.
it out there, because that's how you carve out that niche. And
Yeah.
whether you're on a national platform or whether you're a local estate planning attorney,
Yeah.
what we're talking about works and you can execute it. So it's the brand is important because it's the people, it's the human side of it. It's who you are and how do you connect with that audience that's searching. They're searching, right?
Yeah.
For somebody. So
People want it.
they really do. How do you what's going through the mind? So let's think about business owners listening to this right now, and what's going through their minds before they reach out to you to get help. What are they struggling with, where they think, man, maybe maybe I should reach out to AJ because this isn't going right, or I'm struggling here. What's kind of going on in the mind or the soul of your ideal client?
I love that. Well, right now, social media is on everyone's mind, right? It's because there has been this drastic shift that occurred over the last several years. You may already understand the sense of being in the digital world, but a lot of people didn't up until the pandemic. That kind of shifted their focus. And it took the internet from this like thing on the side that they're aware of to literally like this is the world that we live in today. So a lot of people are starting to realize, hey, I want to be on social media. I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do, but everyone keeps telling me that that's where I need to be. And it's because most people understand, or a lot of business owners understand direct response advertising. They get that there's an advertising ecosystem. And as far as the organic ecosystem, it used to only really be Google. People went to Google to look to see, hey, what's real, what's not, do research, etc. But then now social media is where everyone's really creating a ton of content and have been for the last 5 or 6 years. So social media is this new organic ecosystem, or what I call reality, right? This is how people see people on social media is how they see them in real life. So now that people understand that and are aware of that, they want to know how to do that. And it becomes tricky because you hear a lot of different things. How often should I post? What kind of post should I do? Should I do graphic posts? Should I do videos? So what I've been talking about very heavily in the last couple of years, and literally how I created the Limitless Company, which is an end-to-end studio system. I compare it to how fast content is the new fast food. And just like how fast food could be unhealthy and could be not nutritious and make you feel bad and like junk food and all that, that's what content could do to people as well. There's junk content and there's misinformation and there's toxic content. So a lot of what I'm doing is I'm helping these subject matter experts take their content, repackage it, make it valuable, make it entertaining, because that's what these platforms are. They're entertainment first platforms, and help them share it in a way that they're sharing it consistently and they're not being burned out. And the reason is, like, I always give this example. Like, do you remember those books where there's a like a stick figure on each page, and then when you flip the page, it starts to create
Oh
this
yeah,
motion?
yeah.
That's how I see content. So every day people are consuming content. The average person's online on social media about 2.5 hours a day, and they're consuming hundreds of videos a day. So if they see your videos every single day, subconsciously, you're being positioned in their mind as whatever your expertise is, however you want to program them with you.
Yeah.
And if you could do that consistently enough, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and within about 90 to 120 days, you start to have a very strong impression with them. Because the idea is to make it so that people are consuming your content like it was a habit, like similarly to how they brush their teeth, once or twice a day. And when you could establish that, it opens up all the different opportunities for you. More people will discover you, more people will share with you. You'll start to just get more opportunities. And that's why, like, once people understand that, that's when they're like, all right, I need to make some kind of investment into doing this, or I need to invest in doing this myself if I can't afford a company to help me do it.
Right. And that's the thing of how you guys help people, because we all as entrepreneurs, we're busy. The last thing I need to do is be putting together a social media strategy and trying to implement it. And it's like, I need to do it, but I don't have time to do it. And so it doesn't get done, versus saying, hey, let me reach out to AJ and just have the conversation and figure out, all right, here's what I'm trying to do. What makes sense? Is that kind of how you work with people? What's the process look like?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So most people don't realize that they do need a strategy, because a lot of people wrote social media off as something that they would, hire their niece or nephew to just run for them. But now we're at this level where it's a very professional world, so the realm of social media, and you do need a strategy to determine what kind of content do I need to put out there, how frequently I need to put out there, and how I'm gonna create attention and then monetize this attention. And that's really what it is at its core. What I really love talking about now is essentially the study of attention economics. And
Okay.
I teach people and help people understand social media by this methodology I co-created with my business mentor, a guy named Roy Camarano, and it's called ROAC, Return on Attention Created. Because when you think about social media, you have all of these numbers that are arbitrary, and ROAC is about giving meaning to those numbers. Because when you could give meaning to those numbers, and by numbers, like, it's all these stats, right? Stats from how videos perform, how a channel performs. And when you could understand those stats and understand the meaning behind what it is that you're doing, your content creation becomes more effective. It goes from just being like a hobby of you just kind of like posting to you actually taking it serious to building a brand, right?
Yeah.
Because I've been doing this. It's just now that I see a lot of more everyday business owners do it. Whereas when I was doing this in like 2015, 2017, 2018, I was working with very high profile people, from TV stars to authors. In the last couple of years, I even worked with a billionaire to help him grow his brand.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's becoming more and more common for just like, hey, everyone's realizing the playing field is leveled. You don't have to be a billionaire or a TV star. You could be a nutritionist that at the local gym, or you could be a fitness trainer. And if you could do it consistently and learn from it and iterate from it, then you could take advantage of it and gain the value that's there for you to extract.
Yeah, and that's just so good. And you can do it yourself, or you could reach out to AJ and say, "Can you help me with this?" Because as a nutritionist, as an attorney, as a financial advisor, whatever you do, your greatest leverage for ROI is being face to face with your clients. And that's where hiring coaches, hiring people like AJ who are experts at that area of your business to go, yes, I need it done, but I really need to be over here. So you partner with them. You say, how does this work, AJ? Do we work together for 3 months? Do we work together for a year? What does that look like? And you have those discussions and you work out a plan that works for you. Because when you understand that the brand, the message, the strategy all plays out. And I love, one of my marketing strategies or principles is consistency over time. And you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned that without saying those words. And that's what's required. So as a business owner, you're busy. It pays to bring people like AJ onto your team to say, here's what we're trying to do. Help us with this area. And just like you have a CPA and other people who are business consultants looking into your business, you need people like AJ on your team. So AJ, if somebody's out there they're very curious, they want to know more about you, your company, where do they go? What's the best next step for them in this journey?
Yeah. Best next step would be to follow me on Instagram, AJ the Digital Maestro, and just shoot me a DM.
Okay. We will make sure that is in the show notes, so that when you're done doing whatever you're doing and listening to this, you can go to the show notes, you can connect there and just reach out to him and just have the conversation, because he's been doing this for a very long time. He's put together this really cool end-to-end studio. But more than that, he's got the brain power to help you understand where do you need to go and how do you make it happen. And AJ's the type of guy that if you guys talk and this isn't the right best thing for you, he's going to tell you, right? There's no sense working with people that's not a good fit. But the worst thing you can do is not do anything. You'll never regret taking action. Take an action, figure it out, and AJ will point you in the right direction. So I think it's fascinating, AJ, what you're doing. I love you and I are aligned in lots of areas with the marketing and the branding and working with people's minds, and the way that you infuse wording and content and everything. And and help people build brands is just magnificent. So thank you, man. I'm glad you are where you are, and the future is going to be super bright for you. And I hope lots of people reach out, because it is so very important. And there just aren't many people who can do what you do, because you're coming at it from an outside perspective.
Michael, thank you so much. Those are such kind words. I appreciate it.
Well, you're welcome. I appreciate it. I appreciate you being here today. Thanks for sharing some of your expertise with us and being my guest on Experts Speak. So appreciate it. Let's stay in touch. And thanks for listening to Experts Speak. Tune in again next week, and we'll have another great guest. God bless.